You're listening to the audio-only version of a video podcast. We thought you'd enjoy an audio version to listen to in the car or anywhere that you can't keep your eyes on the screen. However, this is a video show, so to get the most from today's episode, visit TWiPapps.com, where you can watch and subscribe to the video podcast. Today on TWiP Apps, the creator of Quickdraw, MacPaint, and Hypercard has a new type of card to enamor you. And this one comes in the mail. Today's episode features a very special guest. It's not every day that you get to sit down with one of the original developers of the Mac. The man who once wrote Quickdraw, MacPaint, and Hypercard is now an avid photographer and app developer passionate about putting amazing quality prints in your hands and the hands of your loved ones. PhotoCard is a simple app with a legendary backend, Bill Atkinson himself. Bill's passion about image quality, color accuracy, and the value of a printed photo in your hands ensures that no matter if you're sending a vacation snapshot back home or a thank you card to your best client, the massive 8¼ inch postcard that lands in their mailbox will bring the lasting joy and happiness that only a print can. I'm Photo Joseph, and this is TWiP Apps. Welcome to another episode of TWiP Apps. I'm your host, Photo Joseph, and today our guest is someone particularly special. Today's guest is a name that you may very well recognize. If you're of a certain age, you will absolutely recognize. If you're a little bit younger, you may not, but you're going to want to dig into your research and learn a little bit more by the time we're done with this. Today's guest is Bill Atkinson. Bill Atkinson was one of the original developers of the Mac, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, even though that's not what the show is about, just because this is so fantastic. It's something you guys definitely want to hear and learn. And before I bring him on screen, I do want to also say there is a fantastic two-part, 2-hour-long interview with Bill and Leo Laporte on TWiP triangulation, and you absolutely should watch that. We're not going to go into that full 2 hours of what they did there in this show, so definitely check that out. And with that, I'd like to welcome Bill Atkinson to the show. Welcome, Bill.
Hi, Joseph. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. So I invited you because obviously I knew your history, but I had no idea about this app that we're going to be talking about. And when I was listening to something else on TWiP, and Leo mentioned that you were going to be a guest and that you were going to be talking about this app, PhotoCard. And I thought, oh, well, that sounds right up my alley. And then he's talked about it a little bit. And I sent an email off to Tiana, my producer, and I said, we got to get Bill on the show as quickly as we can. This is just too cool. But before we get into the show, I want to talk about you a little bit. Now,
okay.
I read I saw the triangulation shows. Obviously, I know the name. I worked at Apple for 8 years, and name's a bit legendary around there. And right before the show started, and I said, stop talking because I've got to get into this on the show. On your Wikipedia page, it says you invented the double click, and you said.
The double click is the worst invention in user interface that's ever happened. The problem is if you click too quickly or too slowly, it doesn't know, it's any fixed timeout is bad for human beings. And so a beginner will try to click, and in order that you be able to click in several places, one after another, click here, there has to be a spatial limit too. So if you've moved a certain amount, then it doesn't count as a double click. But that's exactly what happens to beginners, is they're kind of nervous and they kind of stab at the mouse and they happen to move it a little bit. And so it doesn't count as a double click. And a much better system would have been if we'd had a shifting button on the mouse. So just like on a keyboard, you hit the shift key, it doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. But when you type an A, you get an uppercase A. A way instead of a double click would have been a shifting key on the side of the mouse that would you would sort of shift click instead of this double click stuff. I don't think it's a good idea.
Interesting.
So I feel kind of responsible for a lot of people getting carpal tunnel syndrome, including myself. When I'm doing Photoshop and I'm spotting a lot of digital pictures, actually when I was doing scanned work, there was a lot more spots to get. And
Sure.
I actually got a repetitive strain injury myself. So I feel bad for that. That's my responsibility. I talked them into putting a mouse in the box.
Well, that's good.
And that's because you can't make a graphics editor that might have to work by cursor keys.
No, that would be horrible. That'd be
And that would
absolutely
be
horrible.
like the Apple II used to have an game IO paddles, and not everybody had them. So a software developer couldn't write software that counted on them. And that's what I argued to Tom Whitney at Apple, that if you wanted software to be able to count on some kind of pointing device, I don't care whether it's a tablet or a mouse or a touch screen.
Sure.
What I care is that software knows there's a way the user can point at something. And he agreed, and we got the mouse in the box.
And therefore it's included. Yeah, because if it wasn't included, if you had to rely on people going out to buy it, then if they didn't, they couldn't use the software, and that'd be a problem.
Yeah, or you'd have to write the software so it could work with cursor keys.
Oy, oy, oy. Can't imagine. Can you imagine MacPaint with a cursor key? Oy.
No,
Well,
I
so,
can't.
and speaking of MacPaint, so you, of course, you wrote the Quickdraw code that went onto the original Mac and that allowed the graphical user interface as we know it today to exist. And you also created MacPaint, the first image editing app on the Mac, well, probably on any platform.
No, there were others first. It was I would say MacPaint was the first widely available painting program.
Okay. All right, great.
There were, if you had a really expensive system, there were painting programs before
Okay.
MacPaint, but nothing that a lot of people had. In fact,
Okay.
Mac was probably the first widely used system that had a mouse.
Right.
So the Xerox Alto and Star came before the Mac, but they weren't widely used.
Right.
Even the Lisa came before a Mac, but it wasn't widely used either.
It wasn't. No, it was a little pricey for most people, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the research that allowed us to make the Mac, and one of the goals behind the Mac was to make a folks Lisa, something
Right.
that people could afford.
Well, it's kind of like the Tesla, right? The Roadster and then the Model S. Those aren't for everybody, but they paved the way to make space for the Model 3, which is now available for pre-order. So
Yeah,
the
for
same
pre-order.
idea.
It's
For
not
pre-order.
available yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Not
I
yet.
just had to update my wife's. She has a Nissan Leaf, and the lease just expired, and I had to decide: do I wait 2 years to get a Tesla Model 3, or do I get the 2016 Leaf? Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, the last thing that I'm going to throw out there for our listeners is that Bill Atkinson was the inventor of HyperCard as well. And this is the precursor to many things that we use on a daily basis. If you've heard of the internet, you have seen its fingerprints all over the place. So with that, I'm going to leave it at that because that is something that you guys have got to go and check out, the triangulation double episode, 2-hour long triangulation to hear all about that and hear the stories behind it. And there's some great stories. Leo did a fantastic job. That was a great interview to watch. I really enjoyed it.
He really drew me out and made me comfortable and allowed me to come out of the closet about a lot of things that I haven't really talked about before, like the chemical inspiration for HyperCard.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, very cool. It's a fantastic interview. I really enjoyed it. All right, well, let's get into what we are here to talk about today. And that, of course, is your app, PhotoCard. I'm going to let you tell the audience, just on a very high-level view, first of all, what PhotoCard is, and obviously then we'll jump into taking a look at the app itself. So just high-level overview, what is PhotoCard?
PhotoCard is an iOS app that lets people make custom postcards. They can be sent as emails, but where my heart really is being sent as print and mailed cards. And they make really big, really beautiful cards. And it's for anybody who wants to make printed cards. It's not just for family members, though. A lot of times the pictures are people's family moments or their travels. But also I've seen professional photographers, and this might be of interest to your audience, who send themselves cards. And they don't bother putting a message on it. They just address it to themselves. They get a beautiful laminated 8 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card of their photograph that's accurately color managed and laminated for permanence, mailed to their home for $1.50.
That's a phenomenal deal. Well, let's talk about the color managed part of it, because that was something that came up in triangulation that won't really fall into the demo. So obviously color matters, and color is extremely important to you, and I know you're an absolute color guru. And the idea behind making sure that our prints look the way that they're supposed to look is really important. Anybody who does printing for a living knows obviously how difficult this is, but how important it is. we as users are so used to just looking at our screen. And if you're an iOS or a Mac user, there's a pretty consistent color across them. They're reasonably accurate, reasonably consistent, but of course not completely. You could put an iPad, an iPhone, and a Mac side by side. They're not going to be identical.
Also, you could be out in bright sunlight, and the same screen will look differently in bright sunlight than it does in the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So there's too many variables in there. So even as a professional photographer, that is something that I, of course, struggle with. If I'm doing printing, then at least you have that final, this is a print and that's your truth, if you will. This is the truth. This is what it's supposed to be. Before that, even no matter how color managed my screen is, if I look at another screen that's also color managed, there might be slight variations. And of course, people perceive things differently as well. So at the end of the day, what determines what's right when it comes to color? Someone takes a picture, let's say I shoot something on my camera, upload it to my phone, do something to it, do some color shifting to it, whatever, and I go, this is the way I want it. This is my truth. And I send it off to get printed. Now you've got to somehow convert that into a print and figure out what's right.
Yes. So I have become an expert in making print profiles. You send a whole lot of samples of known percentages of colorant to the printer, and you measure them with a spectrophotometer and find out what actual colors you got. And from that, you make a lookup table called a ICC printer profile that allows you now, if you've got a given color, to translate it into what percentages do I have to send to this device to get that color. But it's not as simple as just what is the correct thing, because our photographs are often beyond the range of what a printer can do, and they need to be sort of, the saturation needs to be compressed a little, but they need to be done so in such a way as to not compromise the image. So the photographic image rendering intent is actually kind of a black art. The different profile making softwares do it differently. And some of them just really, I would never put one of my nature photos through. And I have about 15 different color management softwares that make profiles, and I have learned which ones do it really well. And what I found when working with the PhotoCard printer, they're printed on a HP Indigo digital press, HP Indigo 10,000. This is a big giant that can handle a 30-inch sheet. It prints 9 postcards up at once. I tried making a better profile for that printer. And you know what? I couldn't. HP knows their stuff. HP is really good at color management. They understand about a nonlinear gamut compression, where instead of just taking all of the colors and multiplying their saturation by 0.7, that would needlessly desaturate colors that are in the middle of the gamut. Instead, you want to use a sort of, I think of it as a progressive tax on saturation. That colors that are well within the range of what the printer can do, they should print exactly correctly, maybe adjusted to the paper white and limitations of the printer. They're what we would call a relative colorimetric mapping. But as you get more saturated colors, you get to like a rainforest green or a fire engine red, it's beyond what the printer can actually make. So it needs to be compressed. But what you want to do is still keep the distinctions so that the texture is still there. You don't want all of the reds beyond a certain point to land on the same point. Or you end up with a blob of solid red with no detail in it, and it doesn't look right at all. It would be better if the color was sort of compressed a little in order to make that fit. And this nonlinear mapping, where those colors that are easy for the printer to do are done pretty much straight colorimetric. And those that are harder and harder pay a bigger and bigger tax. And they get desaturated more so as to still fit within the printer and still keep the distinctions between colors. When I have that beautiful photograph of a stand of aspen trees, those yellow leaves are pretty yellow, but I still want to see the texture and detail within them. They can't go a solid yellow, just the nearest yellow the printer has. And so that's one of the things that distinguishes profile making software is how they handle that perceptual rendering intent. And most of them do it terribly. Most of them do a fixed multiplier of saturation, which is always wrong. It's kind of like you can't make a racing bicycle that's also good for mountain climbing unless you can shift gears.
Right.
And what Color Savvy is one of the softwares that does it well. HP does it well. they do a nonlinear mapping of gamut so that the guys on the edge get compressed more. And it's not a fixed 0.7% or 0.7 multiplier. It's almost a 1.0 multiplier near the middle, but as you get farther to the edge, it might become, a 0.4 multiplier.
Okay. So the end result of that, what this all means to the PhotoCard user is that their picture is going through some of the best color processing, color management available today and getting printed on a phenomenal printer. This isn't just a $200 Costco special. This is something really, really good. And
this is a $1 million printer. And they get another thing that...
Oh, only one? Jeez.
Here's another important thing that they get, is that I pull down the print and mail orders from the Google App Engine server, and I lay out a PDF. And I look at them on my calibrated display. And it's pretty obvious that some of them are just too dark. They chose them in a bright sunlight and they couldn't tell that it was too dark, or they're way too light. The highlights are blown out. And so I open them in Photoshop and put a curve on them and fix them. I don't do color correction, but I do tonal correction. I can see that this is going to print too dark. They're not going to be happy with it. Right. So I do that. And it's a labor of love kind of thing. If you had to pay somebody to do this, the cards would cost too much. I do it because these cards are important to people, and I want them to... so most people, they see the printed card when they go to visit grandma and they've got all the cards on the mantelpiece. They say, wow, the printing quality is amazingly good. And it isn't just that I used a really good printer. It's that I fixed their picture too. Now, I can usually tell when it's a professional photographer and they don't have pictures that are too dark, or if they do, it was obvious they intended that. And I leave them alone. I want to mess with people's pictures. Sure. I just want people to be happy with the results.
Right.
So if you send pictures, I'm not going to touch them because I know you know what you're doing behind your camera. And I will give you exactly what you should be getting, exactly color managed. But if somebody sends me a picture they took in a dim light in a restaurant and it doesn't really work and you can't see the people's faces, I will actually open up the shadows a little bit and, if necessary, even do area-specific correction where I open up the faces but not the background.
Well, that's a little overly generous of you.
I do it as a labor of love rather than, and it's my personal expression. So I've never made money on my nature photos. I make these beautiful canvas prints. It hasn't been a matter of making money. It's been a matter of I want to inspire and nourish people with the beauty of nature. And so it's rewarding to me as a personal expression. Well, what I've found is that the cards are rewarding to me too. And they're rewarding in a different way. They renew my faith in the basic goodness of humanity. So if you were standing next to me and your picture was too dark, well, I would fix it for you. You're standing there, you're watching. And if it was my friend's card, I would fix it for them. And I just feel like there are maybe 50,000 friends that I haven't met yet.
That's
so
very, very kind.
The problem is, if we ever got to a lot of cards, we should, right now we're doing not enough cards. We're doing 800 to 1,000 cards a week. That is barely enough to keep the printer interested. What we should be doing is more like 10,000 a day. At that point, it might be harder for me to do this personal color correction on all of the pictures. I would have to pick and choose the worst ones and fix them. But it would also be a full-time job then, and I do it all day long. But to me, it matters. It matters that people see that picture and hold it in their hands and they're touched by it. To me, it's a way that people send little packets of love.
Yeah, I understand that. Prints are really important. A lot of people just don't hold the value to a print that we used to, and it's a shame because prints are beautiful. It's a phenomenal thing to hold that picture in your hands and to see it way bigger than your screen, even if you're on a huge Mac or a big iPad or something. It just looks different. It's totally different having that print in front of you. It's a beautiful thing.
20 years from now, where are all your emails going to be?
Right.
Where are your text messages going to be? You've got a lot of images that are electronic, and they're beautiful because they get there immediately. The immediacy is important.
Sure.
But they scroll off really quickly.
Right.
So if you, even like I look on Facebook and I see a neat post and I want to show it to my wife, by the time I've gotten around to bringing my iPad over to her, it's already scrolled off enough. I have to go search for it.
Right, right.
Most things that you get electronically are out of your sense of awareness within a couple of weeks. And a card, a printed card that you stick on the fridge, say, it's in your sense of awareness, has an ongoing presence that I can't get with electronic means.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm not a Luddite. I don't, I think there is a purpose for electronic communication. I text pictures to my wife all the time. But when you want to make a more deliberate statement, then I want to support people to be a creative expression. I don't want them to just go to the drugstore and buy a Hallmark card and sign it.
Right.
It isn't really personal. It isn't something people would save. I want something that a person created out of their own creativity, and I want to empower them to express that.
It's funny
I actually started the app. I was wanting a better way to get my nature photos out. These 30 by 40 canvas prints, they cost $1,200. A gallery takes half of that, but that's just what those things cost. Sure. I wanted a way to get my nature photos out to people for $1.50 delivered. And what I found as I worked on this thing I've been doing it more than 7 years now. It's actually, I put more work onto this than the sum of Quickdraw, MacPaint, and Hypercard. Yeah, but it hasn't reached as many people anywhere near because I don't have Apple pushing it out into the world.
Right, right.
So what I found as I worked with these is that somewhere between 15 to sometimes only 10% of the cards use my nature photos. Most of them used people's own personal family event photos, things they're doing, people, a newborn babe or a gathering for dinner, or we're traveling and we took some pictures of us in front of the pyramids.
Sure.
And what I noticed is that those are the ones that excited me when I was processing them. I was witnessing a human connection here. And so it isn't about my nature photos. They're there and you can use them, and I give you a free license to use them on postcards, even though they're all copyrighted images. But what I find is maybe 10 or 15% of the cards are sent with that, usually because they don't have one for the moment. But most of the ones that really touch me, that I see and I think, oh, wow, I'm so glad they sent that. I know Grandma's going to be really excited to receive that. They're not my nature photos.
Yeah.
And so it isn't about, it started to be about my nature photos, and it isn't anymore. Now it's really about people's own photos.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so much more significant to get a card that has a photo of the family, the situation, whatever it is, as opposed to, like you said, going to the store and buying a card. And if you go to the store and buy a card, that costs way more than what you're printing and delivering these for. So these really are a complete bargain at $1.50 a piece. It's almost silly.
Well, I don't think it's just a matter of money. It's also a matter of convenience. The reason you don't go to the store and buy a card isn't because it's $5 or $7. The reason is because it's out of your way. I want to make the printed postcard very personal and very convenient, so that you will think to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's the reason. When you have an easy way on your smartphone or on your tablet to make a beautiful custom postcard and send it, and maybe send it to several friends, more human connection happens. And it's not just about the cost. We've made them inexpensive because we don't want that to be a barrier.
Right.
But that isn't the real motivation why people send them. They don't send them because it's cheaper than buying a card. They send them because it's more personal and more convenient.
Love it. We're not making postcards here, people. We're making happiness. All right, Why don't we take a look at the app? Let's see what this is and show it off to our audience. You ready to give it a demo?
Sure.
All righty. Here we go.
Okay. I've got an iPad Pro here, and it's running PhotoCard. And I thought I would just go through the basics of making a card. So to make a card, you go down to the bottom where there's a little plus that says New, and you tap that, and it says Erase Card Contents, and you say yes to that, and then you get to pick a photo for it. So you can choose one of my nature photos, and I've been doing nature photos for 52 years, and I have a lot of beautiful ones. I've made all of them available. You can choose one of those, and that's on your card. But you can also choose one from the photo library. So I'll say, go to my favorites here and take this sea anemone that I took at the aquarium a couple of weeks ago, and I'll crop it how I want it, and then I'll say done. So you can, and once you've got a photo, you can turn it over and choose a stamp design. So on the other side, you tap on here where it says tap here to choose a stamp. And there are 220 built-in stamp designs that you can just choose. You can go scroll through them and choose one that you want for, let's take, I'm going to take the fishes because we've got a sea anemone on the other side. You can also make custom stamps, and I'll show you that a little bit later.
Okay.
Then you address this card to someone. Now, there are 3 ways you can address. One is by choosing somebody from your contacts. That's the middle icon there that has the one head and shoulder. Mm-hmm. That will open somebody up from your contacts. So, for example, if I open that up and I search on Joseph, there we go.
There I am.
And I'll send this to your studio.
Awesome.
When I say done, it actually goes out to the internet. Notice it added the -4. I used to get a lot of addresses that were incorrect, and I reduced that considerably by doing real-time address correction in the software. So it goes out to the internet, checks that. If it's a bad address, it'll give you a chance to fix it. Mm-hmm. Or to say, no, I really want you to send it that way. I'll take my chances. But the fact that it added the -4 really knows that that's a real address.
Right.
It may not be the address for Joseph Linashki. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's right. Yep.
Linash. It may not be your address, but it is a real address.
It's a real address.
So once
I don't think I knew what my -4 was, so thank you. Now I know.
So once you've chosen an address, and then you want to make a message. So I'll type in here.
We should point out, since you're on an iPad Pro, you've got the physical keyboard attached. That's why we're not seeing the soft keyboard slide up.
Actually, I don't have Apple's one. I have the Logitech one, which I like better. I think the keys have a better feel. It has a whole row of function keys, including volume and home and lock and things like that, and brightness. And it lights up. So I often am using this in the evening, and I hit a shift key and the keyboard lights up. Huh. Also, because it's on an iPad Pro, there's no Bluetooth syncing.
Right. It just connects.
That's through the Apple one, too. It just draws the power from the iPad Pro.
Right. Huh. Cool. I'm going to have to check that out. I like my iPad Pro keyboard, but I'm not super
Why don't you talk while I write a message?
Oh, I was just saying that I have the iPad Pro and the keyboard for that, the Apple one, and it's good, but it's not perfect. I think just because it's got a little bit of flex to it, it can be a little bit odd sometimes. But I'll have to check out that keyboard. It sounds pretty cool.
Now, I haven't written very much here. Usually I dictate and then correct. It's very important to correct. Once I was answering a tech support email saying batches of cards are produced every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning starting at 5:30 a.m. And I looked over the email before I sent it back, and it said batches of turds are produced. So I was glad I caught that one.
That sounds about right, too.
Yeah, but it's getting better and better. Something I've learned recently is that actually talking at the top of your iOS device is the best way. Like if you're using on a phone, you would think that talking at the bottom of the phone is where the mic is. But talking at the top, it does a better speech recognition. And
I think the mics are just tuned. I mean, the mic is at the bottom, but I think that they're just tuned to expect that people aren't going to hold it up in front of them and talk to it. It's just going to be sitting on their table. Or it's like the new Apple TV. Do you have the new one with the voice, the Siri voice remote? It's quite remarkable how you can have it sitting on your lap or just sitting on the couch and push the button and talking to it in a normal voice. You don't have to hold it up. It works quite well.
I like on that you have to press the button for it to be listening. I don't like this idea of Alexa, what's on TV? That implies that Alexa's listening to everything in the room all the time. And that just seems like a hacker's, a bonanza for hackers.
Yeah.
Let me see. I can listen in on what's happening in anybody's, house or bedroom in the world. I'm really nervous about this whole Internet of Things, putting cameras and microphones in every room. Anyway, that's really off the subject. So let's go back to the card, and I usually choose a font. And in addition to the 300 some fonts that Apple provides, I've licensed over 50 handwriting and decorative fonts from Kimberly Geschwine Fonts. And the reason is that people want to send their postcard with a less formal font.
Certainly.
And you can choose the size with one slider. And separately, you can choose the line spacing with another slider.
Nice. Is there an auto size kind of a fit to fill?
Well, if you try to, let's say I make this really big, okay? Notice it snaps down. It says you can't fit all that text in at 96 point. It will jump down. It will, and if I type some more, it would shrink the text so as to keep it all on.
Perfect.
So there is kind of an auto fit that way, but most of the time you don't want to use, here's an 18-point font. And these cards are big. If you use an 18-point font, it reads like either you think I'm an old guy who can't read without my readers, or it reads like, read my lips, you stupid person. So I think you want to try to keep the font size down more like 10 or 11, not way up high.
Gotcha. That's funny.
And it's actually, it happens a lot because people use it a lot on the iPhone. And the iPhone has a small screen, so they can't really see how big this 8.25 inch wide card is going to be on their 2-inch wide phone.
Yeah, it's hard to judge. An 8.25 inch, that's big. I mean, that's half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the only reason it's not 8.5 by 5.5, which would be exactly a half, is I want it to really be 2 to 3 aspect ratio, the same as our digital cameras. So if you shoot with a DSLR, it shoots at a 3 to 2 aspect ratio, the same as and the same as the original iPhone, which was also a 2 to 3 aspect ratio. But it also fit on an Indigo press sheet. Now we're to bigger press sheets. We could have used wider, but we're not changing the card size because people have huge collections of these cards, and they all fit nicely in their shoe boxes, and they don't want me to change the size.
Fair enough.
So once you put a message on there and chosen a font, then, and by the way, the fonts, they remember this section up at the top of recent fonts, the top 10. Those are combinations of font and size and line spacing that you used recently. So you can go back. Many people use the same, like use this over again, or go back to it. So that allows me to kind of quickly go between different ones without having to search for all of them.
Nice, very nice.
Now people often decorate it by adding stickers. So I've pressed the button down at the bottom, or it's the 5th button over, and it brings up stickers. And there's 440 built-in stickers that are built in, and you can make your own. I'll show you later how to make custom stickers. But if I wanted to send you, let's choose some nice stickers for you. So you can choose more than one sticker. I'll send you a paint bucket. I'll send you a monkey.
Is there any limit to how many stickers you can put on the page?
No, there isn't. I've seen ones with 500 stickers on, and I'm glad the program didn't crash, but it worked. And actually, something you might have seen in Leo's demo is that when you reach outside the sticker chooser and start to drag one of these, and then you haven't put away the sticker chooser yet, well, now it will automatically put itself away. So you can move the stickers around and position wherever you want. Now, why I like to add the text first is then I know where to put the stickers.
Sure.
And if I want to make room for something, let's say I wanted to make room here for a sticker, I might add a return in there to reserve some space over on the right. Or if I wanted to add one on the left, I could put a bunch of spaces. I'd advise leaving a little bit of slop. Don't make it a really tight fit, because the fonts might be sized just a little bit different on the final card. I try to make them a perfect match, but sometimes they're not perfect.
Sure.
Now, if you tap on a sticker, then you can, it selects it, and you have knobs that you can stretch it to whatever size you want. And the stickers are much higher resolution than are needed, so that they can be stretched big and still be full resolution. And you can also tug on the corner to rotate it. You can double tap a sticker to duplicate it. So I might, make one and then another. And
yeah, that's nice. Nice and easy.
A whole row of things, I might make it small and tap, tap.
And now what happens if you try and put a sticker over the address?
So the post office doesn't like the address being obscured.
I can't imagine why.
If you try to put a sticker on the address, it will slide off of it. It says, I can't stick there. Or likewise on the postage. You can't stick on the postage. So it's got sort of, I think of it as Teflon on it. Those surfaces are protected. Stickers can't stick to those surfaces.
Gotcha.
And it'll go to the nearest place that it can go. But I try to protect you. To get rid of a sticker, you just drag it off the edge. So if I drag it partway off the edge, you'll see it can disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't let go yet. When I let go, it makes a little poof sound, and you know it's gone. If you drag it near the edge and you bring it back, then you haven't deleted it, and it won't make the poof sound. But that's how you get rid of stickers. You just toss them off the edge.
Okay.
So now you've got a card. You've addressed it. You put some stickers on it. I don't really want this row of cans here. I'm going to toss them off the bottom. And I'll send this card to you. So to mail it to you, I go to the rightmost toolbar here that says Actions, and I'll say Send Postcard by Mail. Now, why it says mail is because I addressed this to a physical address.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll send that by mail. And yes, I have copyright permission for that photo I used. And send it. It's confirmed. And then it says Uploading Custom Photo, and the order is uploaded. It will be printed and mailed with first-class postage.
What's the turnaround? How quickly can someone expect the card is going to be printed and shipped? Yeah.
Currently, cards are printed and mailed on Mondays and Thursdays. So if you send it, the worst case is if you send it on Monday afternoon, it won't get printed until Thursday. It'll be printed and mailed on Thursday. The USPS is kind of variable about their delivery. Sometimes it'll come in 2 days. Sometimes it'll be like 7 or 8 days of USPS time after we mail it.
Right. Well, that's the post office. We have no control over that. But as far as when the card actually gets...
Yes, we do. So part of making this happen is making people happy. They have to be happy. They say, well, my card didn't get there. And I have implemented intelligent mail barcode tracking. So now when somebody says, what happened to my card? I can show, it went here, 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 here. I got every scan that the postal sorting facilities make, and I can show that it's been stuck in Detroit for 11 days. And I send that to the USPS as a bug report so that they can try and sort out problems in their delivery barcode sorting algorithms. So if it's getting stuck, something's wrong about how they're doing the sorts.
Now that barcode, is that something that only you can read or run through software, or is it like a tracking number that if I send one, I can grab that code and find out where my package is, where my letter is?
Today, all you can do is send me an email saying, where's my card? And I can do it for you. When you get a confirmation email, when you send a card and we say it's been mailed, you get actually a confirmation made from the printing PDF. So you have the real barcode on there. What you have in the software is a placeholder. It's a dummy. So it doesn't have your real zip code in it. But the one you get as your confirmation, you can go to a barcode decoder on the USPS website, and you can decode that and see what it says. It'll have actually an 11-digit zip code in it. Not just your zip +4, but the 2-digit destination code. And that's important to get them delivered quickly and make sure that it's a good address. But I think that the practical thing is, if you want to know, my card seems to be kind of slow, where is it? Send me an email. I have the tracking. I can run a trace on it, and I'll send you the trace and say, okay, here's where it is. It landed in Orlando on this day, and it seems to be, looks like it's going to be delivered the next couple of days.
Well, if we get to those 10,000 a day that you want, I don't think you want to be getting those emails.
Well, by then I'll add stuff to the software where you'll be able yourself to track a card.
Sure. That's great.
And I'll have something in the server that allows the tracking to be done automatically from there.
Nice.
Now,
Wonderful.
this one has if you look at the postage on the top right, the card shows 00. Well, it's really going to be 47 cents. This is also a placeholder. This isn't real postage. But when the cards are printed, they'll be printed with real postage. If you were sending this as an email, supposing I address this to your email. So to change the address, you tap on this address area over on the right side of the card. If you just tap on it, it'll bring back open, enter card address, because you might want to send another copy of this to someone else. In this case, I want to send one to your email. And I can get it from your contacts, or I can get it from the top icon, the little clock. That's recents. People send to the same people a lot.
Sure.
And so I might go in recents, and these are just the most recent used addresses. I'll choose your email out of there and say done. And notice the postage now doesn't have, or the stamp is just a design. It doesn't have real postage on it because it's not going to go through the post office.
That's
and
neat.
Also the address kind of looks like an address, but really it isn't. It's just your name and your email and from me and a date.
I like it. I like the way it's formatted. That's neat. Go ahead and hit send, and I'll pull it up on this end and show it on screen.
Send postcard by email. And so it shows you a graphical preview. You're going to get this 960 pixel wide JPEG. And I've done it as a simple email that anybody's email client can receive. Mm-hmm. We had some problems trying to do more complex HTML ones, and a lot of people had their email clients set to reject those. Because when you get one of those, if you tap, just even opening it up causes it to display an image, which causes it to pull the image from the sender's server. And if they're a spammer, they just got confirmation that you opened this email.
Right. Yeah, there's settings to not load remote images. I think shows up on a lot of email clients.
Yeah. So I just made it a simple one, so it's all completely self-contained, and any client can see that email.
Great.
So that's making a card. You basically choose a photo. Let's look at some of the other options about choosing a photo. If you have a photo in the pasteboard, you could just paste, and it'll give you the cropping tools again now here. Now, this is an image that is a 3 to 4 aspect ratio from my iPhone 6s Plus. And the default cropping is to fill the whole card. But notice it's going to cut off a little on the top and bottom.
Sure.
If there was something important happening there, then I would choose cropping mode, the third button here, and it will choose, okay, let's show everything. Let's not cut off anything. And so you can cycle. There are 4 different cropping modes between I want it portrait, or I want it landscape, and I want it to fill or fit. And then you can also do individual cropping where you drag the corners of the card around. The blue rectangle represents the card you're going to get. It's always a 2 to 3 aspect ratio. And you can drag it around and say, okay, I want this much. And
now, if you go too small, will it warn you that that's not a high enough resolution to print and look good?
Well, it's going to go back to your original and get it from there. So what's uploaded to the server is actually 1920 by 1280. I found that to be the minimum size that you can't tell any difference if it was more.
Wow,
right? If it was 3400, it doesn't look any sharper on the print.
Wow, I'm surprised at that. That seems remarkably small for a print that size.
Well, I did the empirical tests, and I think it has to do with maybe how halftone screens work on HP Indigo. It's not a display with analog pixels. It actually has dots that are on and off. And so I just experimented with different sizes, and that also keeps the size down to where you're not chewing up a lot of your cellular data.
Sure.
So if you wanted to make an image that was optimal for PhotoCard, like you're making it in Photoshop, you want to make the perfect card there, if you size it to 1920 by 1280, then PhotoCard will not do any resizing when you paste it or choose it, and it will leave it untouched. There won't be any softening due to resampling if it's 1920 by 1280. So I know you have a lot of professional photographer guys who watch this your show. They might want to know that. Whereas most people, they just choose the camera one, and it's going to downsize it as necessary.
Right. You say it's 8 1/4 inches wide, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So 8.25 by 5.5. So if you multiply 5.5 times 1.5, you get 8.25.
Okay. Yes, it's
exactly
232 DPI. It just, I guess that is quite high resolution. It's 232 DPI. It just seemed smaller for some reasons. In 1920, that's just HD. That's nothing these days. But it just goes to show, that you don't need a whole lot of pixels, do you?
Yeah. Other ways that you can get photos. So let's say you've carefully chosen one and cropped it the way you want, and now you want to use it again. You could choose a previous photo. So the middle item on this choose a photo will bring up ones you've already cropped and used. So here's a picture I already cropped of me and my wife. I could just pick it up like that. I don't have to do all the cropping over again. I could just choose it. Like, it was really easy to choose one of the nature photos because they're already cropped to 3:2.
Right.
These are already cropped. And the last one is really a very important one. I want to get one from somewhere else on the web. So I'll show you on an iPad Pro, because it has the split view multitasking. I can bring in another panel, and PhotoCard will kind of adjust itself to what's left, the half a screen that's left. And I'll go to a photo sharing site. I love Pixabay. It's a site where you can contribute images, and you can use other people's images copyright free. So I might say, I want a picture of a beach, and search on that, and it'll show me. Now, I warn you, the top row here says sponsored images from Shutterstock. Those ones actually you have to license. All the ones below it, people have contributed. They're contributed images. This is sort of a social sharing site. I choose one of those, and then I can say, I'll tap it and say download. So free download, and it gives you different resolutions. And the 1920 by 1275 will be perfect because I'm going to throw away some of the 1275 to make 1200, those 1280 that's close enough. So I can choose that, download it. And once I've downloaded it, I can press and hold and choose copy. Now over in PhotoCard, I could tap on the picture like this and choose paste photo. But there's even a speed up over that. I'll put that away, and instead I'll just press and hold on the photo, and it pastes it immediately. So
you were pressing and holding on the Photos button down at the bottom?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
You were pressing and holding on the Photos button down at the bottom for that to happen?
No. Good. Yeah, there's no cursor here. And you don't have my finger. I'm pressing and holding in the middle of the photo, middle between my wife and my face. When I press and hold on the photo, it pastes immediately without having to... you could just tap on the photo and choose that, or tap on the photos icon down below.
Gotcha.
And then I might say enhance it. Now enhance does Apple's standard thing that Aperture would have done. It analyzes the picture, looks at highlights and shadows, red eye if it's got faces in it. There's a standard list of things that they did, and I just invoke the system enhance to do that.
Okay.
And what I do is, the enhance is a toggle. So I touched enhance, and I see whether I like it or not. And in this one, I don't really see any particular difference.
Yeah.
But on top of that, you can also lighten or darken. So if I wanted to lighten the photo, you can lighten it different amounts. Each time I tap on lighten up to a certain point, it will lighten it, or darken will darken it. And if you get lost, you don't know, well, gee, am I at the middle or not? You can actually turn enhanced on and off, and that will reset it.
Okay.
And this picture is pretty good right the way it is. So I'll say done. So you have to remember to press on done, which is on the upper right corner of this make a custom photo dialog. When you say done, that's now in your card.
Great.
So getting from another website into PhotoCard is a very important thing. And if you didn't have multitasking here on an iPad Air 2 or an iPad Pro, you would just switch over to your favorite web browser and grab an image by copy and paste, or by copy, and you come back to PhotoCard and paste.
Nice.
Now, I promised you earlier, so to switch from the front to the back, I'm looking at the front of the card, and I'm going to swipe left anywhere in the card, and that will flip it over. Now, the same thing happens on the other side. If you're on the back and you want to look at the photo side, you need to swipe left or right. And I find the best place to do it is on the address. And the reason I do it by swiping on the address is I can't accidentally throw a sticker away.
Right.
If I land on a sticker and swipe, I might be throwing that sticker away. Now, if I wanted that back, I would go to View Sent Postcards and choose that card and say reload it. I'm tapping now on the graphical preview and saying replace. I've restored that to what it was when I sent it.
Is there an undo? So if you throw away a sticker in the middle of working, you just hit an undo and bring it back?
No, there isn't.
Okay.
It would be a nice feature to have. I'd like a multiple level undo. I don't yet. But at least you have this wonderful feature. Every card you've ever sent, so I should do that slower so your users can see it. By tapping in the bottom right thing where it's the Actions toolbar button, it has address this postcard. Well, that's kind of the same as tapping on the address. Share postcard, that lets you send it by Twitter or messages, anything in the sharing stuff. But it also has a really powerful one, View Sent Postcards. And this shows you a list of all the cards you've sent and graphical previews of them. So I can touch on one of these things and bring it up to look at. And if I want to load that card, now if I touch over on the left where there's the picture of it, it will bring it up. So I touch and say yes, replace. Now I've got that card here, and I could readdress it to somebody else and send it again. Or maybe I'd probably want to change the text also instead of saying Dear Jim.
Sure.
Right. But in that way, every card you've ever sent is kind of a template for another one. And a lot of people use that. I know car dealers that sell people a car, and they take a picture of them in front of their new vehicle. And that's going to be the front of the card. And on the back, it's got a template that the guy wrote once with his, thanks for letting me serve you, and here's my contact info for the future. So he'll just call up that and replace the picture and send it to the new customer.
That's something worth talking about a little bit. For the most part, we've been talking about this as a friends and family. I want to send a picture to my grandma. I want to send a picture to my parents back home, whatever it is. But as a business opportunity, as a business tool, this is fantastic to send thank you cards to clients, whether you sold them a car or you took their picture or whatever it might be. This is a great tool to have, and at that price, it's pretty hard to argue with. It's a pretty inexpensive way to say thank you to a client.
And the nice thing is they will keep it. So if you get a picture of yourself with your new car and it goes on the fridge, it'll stay. It's going to be there for a while versus a generic card with a picture of the business on it.
Right.
It's going to go in the recycle bin probably when it's first received.
Of course. Oh, this is great.
So by making it more personal, you make it so that people will actually keep the mail piece. Yeah. Now, my heart is in human connection, but I need more cards to flow in order to make. So I would like to be processing cards 5 days a week instead of 2 days a week. Sure. I'd like to be able to say your card will be mailed within the next business day. That's really my goal. Right. I just need to get more cards flowing in order for that to be practical.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully we can help make that happen. What about the stamps? You talked about the stamps, and you can do a custom stamp. I want to see that.
So you can choose a existing built-in stamp. There's a whole section of built-in stamps. There are a lot of clip art images that I've licensed at great expense, and there are even some of my nature photos. But what's really cool is making your own. So this it's broken up into sections. Recent stamps is the 10 stamps you used most recently, because you're going to people use the same stamps a lot. So I want to make sure that's easy. But below that is custom stamps, those that you've made yourself. Now, I have a lot of them. Most people don't have as many as I do. But the first one says make a custom stamp. When you touch that, it will bring up make a custom stamp, and you can, from there, choose an image. And I'll choose, here's it. Okay, here's a picture of me with my T-shirt that's a dog T-shirt. It shows my golden retriever. It's not my golden retriever, but a generic golden retriever T-shirt here. I crop it the way I want. And here you're not constrained to the 2:3 aspect ratio. This is your stamp, not the card. And so now when I say preview stamp, it'll show it to me with the serrated edges that it's going to look like.
Oh, and then you can make that any aspect ratio. That's neat.
Yeah. Whatever. Supposing I didn't like this crop, I could say reset crop and say, well, I wanted to try it like this. What do I want to, crop way the heck in like this? And I don't really like that. I like the original one, but I'll crop it the way I want for my stamp. And after I preview it, if I'm happy with that, then I say buy stamp. And this costs 1 credit. And that's just a new thing that happened. We used to be 2 credits for a long, long time, for 7 years. And now it's 1 credit. You buy stamp, and when you pay for a stamp, you're paying to register it and store it forever on our server. It's a one-time fee. If I use that on 100 cards, it never again does it cost me anything. It's just a one-time creation fee.
Okay, so you're storing the stamps on your server. So that means if I installed this on multiple apps, on multiple devices, I would see my stamp collection on all those devices, on my iPhone, my iPad, and so on?
That's correct. Okay, so if you have an iPhone and an iPad, and you send a card from your iPad, when you open up PhotoCard on your iPhone, there in the View Sent Cards, there's your sent card history. And in your stamps menu and stickers menu, there's all your custom things and your credits. If you've bought some credits to send these cards, they're shared across all of them.
So
and if you even bought a new device, let's say you bought a brand new iPad.
Sure.
You want to move up to the latest and hottest one. All you have to do is run PhotoCard and sign in with your email and your password. And that's why it's kind of important to keep your password fairly long. You don't want people to be able to see all your things. But if you sign in with your email and your password, then give it a couple of minutes to get all caught up with synchronized. All of your sent cards and custom stamps and stickers and credits and everything will be there on your brand new iPad.
Great. Let's talk about the credits a little bit. So you said it's $1 for the stamp, $1.50 to mail the card. I think I saw it was $2.50 for international. Is that right?
So what it is it's 1 credit for a stamp or sticker, 2 credits for a card to the U.S., and 3 credits international. Well, what are these credits? So if you only buy 1 credit, it would be $1, but nobody does that. You go to settings and tap on buy credits, and typically people buy like 30 credits for $25. 30 credits is enough to send 15 cards to the U.S. or to send 10 cards international, because I have to put $1.15 postage on there instead of 47 cents. So the price includes the postage, and if you're in California, we eat the tax, so to keep it simple. But this buying credits you can buy from using a PayPal account or a credit card. And we initially programmed this, I initially programmed this to use in-app purchase. I'm going to cancel this. I don't want to really buy any credits right now. But Apple rejected my app. And they said, the rules say you can't use in-app purchase for physical goods. And I think it's because they weren't set up to handle taxation, and they weren't set up to handle return. What if the guy doesn't like the card and wants to return it? They feel like they're going to have to return it to Apple. And that's not true. You return it if for any reason the card is lost or damaged or contact me. I will fix it. I will send a free reprint if it's been damaged. I always make it right. In fact, in the new version, I've made a thing here where you can say, give us feedback. It actually gives you a chance here to ask a question or make a complaint or report a bug or request a feature. I get a lot of those, and that's really good because I will use my good judgment, but I like ideas from anybody or rate or review the app. So The credits are, think of them, well, you get a discount when you buy more at a time. So let's say you wanted to send out Christmas cards. Well, if you bought 100 credits for $75, then a card costs $1.50 because it's 2 credits. So if you were to send, you buy 100 credits, that's enough to send 50 Christmas cards for $75, including the postage. Now, I think it's a bargain. It's less than the other postcard apps. It's a bigger card, and actually, economically, I've been doing this for 7 years, and we've not made any money. We give away the software. We charge so little for the cards that we haven't made enough to even pay us salaries. So my wife and I have been doing this as a labor of love with no salary for 7 years. And one of the things we want to do is get the number of cards flowing enough that we can actually start to make a little bit of money, because I want to hire some support people. I want somebody else to be able to pull down the print and mail orders and answer tech support. And as we get to more cards, we're also going to have more tech support. And so I'd like a small team of people. And I'm working with some people about making Android and web versions of it, because not everybody has iOS device.
Sure, certainly.
So we're trying to get the number of cards up, because that's really the only way we make any money.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, it's got to be on volume for sure. For sure. Right on. Well, very good. Is there anything else in the app itself that we want to take a quick look at before we jump out of there?
Let's look at making a custom sticker. Now, making a custom stamp was pretty easy because it's rectangular. You just choose a picture, choose a crop, preview it, and say, yeah, it's okay to spend the credit. To make a custom sticker, you choose an image. I'm going to go back to Pixabay here. And let's say choose, let's look for, wrong thing here. Pixabay, find a magic hat. So there's a lot of magic hat images here. I'll just grab one of them. And here I notice it's got some checkerboard around it. Parts of this image are transparent. I'm not sure if you can see it on your side.
Yeah, we see it. Yeah, that's certainly.
So if I touch on that and download it, and here you don't need the 1920 because 1280 is fine. Now if I press and hold to copy, and if I were to go back into PhotoCard, now I'm going to tap on the stickers toolbar button, which is the 5th one over, and I can choose make a custom sticker, and then I can choose paste, and it's got that. And it respects the transparency here. You would say crop and buy that sticker. Now you've got a custom sticker here that you can drag anywhere. It has its mask, so it will overlap other things correctly. Mm-hmm. It will here, make this a little bigger by shoving that guy off. You can double tap it, and it's high enough resolution that it's going to look good. It's not an emoji. This is more like clip art. It's super emoji on steroids. Now, notice how I've got my name here, a signature stamp. People like to make those, but they're a little bit complicated because it needs, in order to go over that text without wiping it out, it needs to have a mask. And so a custom sticker for a signature, I'm going to go down to stickers, this 5th toolbar button. I'm going to touch that, and I'm going to touch here again where it says make a custom sticker. And I'll say choose an image, and I'll go to one. I wrote my name on a piece of paper, and I took a picture with my iPhone. And now I don't want to let shadow that's in there, so I'll crop it down to sort of the basic part of the image. And now when I choose, I say crop image, it'll cut it down to that much. But it's still kind of gray there. It wasn't a perfect white background, and it never is when I do this thing. So then you can do something which is edit the mask. So it brings you into another section of PhotoCard that allows you to edit what's transparent in this. So there's an erase tool, the 3rd one over, that will let you scrub and erase parts out of that. But this would be very, very tedious to try and erase that whole thing.
Of course.
So there is an undo here. And what's more useful here is the pour tool, which is like a paint bucket, and it pours erase. It's always pouring erase. And now let's say I wanted to zoom in on this one little area of the bee to fill that in. I'm afraid if I touch it with my fingers, it might pour. So I hit the second toolbar button, which is scroll. And that's the sort of, safe and sane way you can move things around without doing anything. I'll go back to pour, and I'll say pour into that. And then if I view the whole thing, I'll view it against white. Yeah, it looks good. I got a little bit left in that. All right. I'll go in here. I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I'll pour a little bit into there. And then I'll go back, and I've made this thing. Now I say done, and buy that sticker, and its sticker is ready. You pay one-time fee of 1 credit to make a custom sticker, and then you can use it as much as you want without any further charge. So this is the way that people make custom stickers of their own signatures. Sometimes people also use a custom look here, I've got a picture of me and my dog on the back of the card. How did that happen? I used a custom sticker, and I'll choose touching the 5th icon for bring up the sticker chooser. I'll say make a custom sticker. I'll choose an image, and I'll grab here's a great new picture of my dog Poppy. And this time I don't want to mask it a lot. I could either keep it as a rectangle. If I just said crop, if I say buy that sticker, I've got a rectangular image. Mm-hmm. I could also edit the mask, and a very simple tool is the first one is shape, where you can just say, well, I want to put a little bit of rounded corners on it, or I want to put it in an ellipse, or I want to put it in a heart. So these are really simple ways to make a non-rectangular thing without having to use any of the scrubbing tools or the pouring tool. In this case, I think I'd like it just to make it a round rec. And then when I say done, in the upper right corner, I'll tap done, and then say, yes, buy that sticker, 1 credit. Now it says your sticker is ready. That sticker is now, I can use it on that side of the card. So I've got picture over on this side, I got a different picture over on that side. You can have multiple pictures and make them whatever size or even rotation you want.
There's nothing saying you have to have text on there. You can just do a couple of pictures.
You don't have to have any text at all. In fact, I see professional photographers often select all and backspace, often leaving no message. So I've erased the message. They're just wanting to send a picture to themselves to get a beautiful print. So they can do that. They don't have to put a second picture on the back, but you can kind of the bare minimum card is choose a stamp, address the card, choose something for the front. You have to have a picture on the front. Sure. It's one of mine, or here I'll paste whatever's in the pasteboard right now. Oh, I don't want that on the front of the card. If I did, I would probably crop it down so that the whole thing shows.
There you go.
Be the front of my card. So
easy enough.
The custom stickers are useful in several ways. They're useful to make your own little stickers. They're useful to make a signature sticker, and they're useful to make secondary photos. Another thing that people like to do for the front of the card is use multiple photos. And I have an app that I really love for that. That is called Live Collage. Now, what's different about Live Collage than most of the other collage apps? And there are like 300 collage apps on iOS.
There are a few.
So what they do, so first they can give you templates. If you want to do a Hallmark kind of thing and slip your picture into it, you can do that. But I don't really use those that much. I would rather make just my pictures. So you say, make a new one, and I'm going to choose, here's some snapshots from my wife and I went to Italy. I'm going to choose some of those, and as I choose them, it's showing down below various possible layouts. You can scroll through them and say, well, how would you like to lay out these? But now I've got 2 selected. What if I choose another? Well, now I've got 3 and 4. I'll go, heck, let's go up to like 10 pictures. And
Which app was this again? What was this one called?
This is called Live Collage.
Live Collage. Okay. Like I said, there are so many of them.
Yeah, there are so many, but here, if you want to, remove all, you do it like that. And I'll just go here. I'm going to say, I want say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'll say I want a horizontal layout. And if I touch down below the bottom half of the screen, I'll choose, I'm scrolling through these different possible layouts for 10 images. The nice thing here is I didn't have to go pick pictures 10 times. I didn't choose a grid first and then say, put this picture in that.
Right.
For 10 times to go and pick a picture would be too much work. I first choose the set of pictures, and it shows me the grids that can be used with that number of pictures.
Yeah, that's nice.
So now I'll touch on that one, and then you can customize it by press and hold. I'm going to press and hold in the upper right where it's got a picture of me and my wife. Press and hold, and I can swap places with another one. I'll swap places again on the right, and I'll maybe put the gelato, because that was really good, up to the top left, and maybe one more swap from here to there. When I'm happy with my collage, I just say save, and that automatically saves it to the camera roll. So if I now go back into PhotoCard and say photos, choose from photo library, it'll be the most recent one here, and I'll say done. Now I've got, that's on the front of my card, that's on the back of my card.
Very good.
So making a photo collage, a lot of people do it, and the easiest way is to choose your favorite collage making app, which isn't, I've thought about putting it right into PhotoCard, but I would probably give you a not such a great one as they're doing.
Yeah, there's some really good ones out there, and that's a pretty nice
I think
one.
Sort of the more modular approach of, I'm going to specialize in doing what I do really well. I'm going to print and mail these cards really beautifully for you. And you can go to Live Collage or others to, if you want a template to stick your pictures behind, you want a Valentine's template, or if you want to make a collage, do it there, bring the results back into here.
Fair enough. Very good.
Okay, the last thing I wanted to say is about how the cards are printed.
Okay.
So the cards, this isn't something you can do on a home printer. The cards are printed on both sides. They're laminated to protect against mail, and they're full bleed, so they have to be printed a 1/20th of an inch big and then trimmed down in a big bulk trimmer. So once I've gone through and corrected addresses, I find out addresses that you thought were okay but aren't okay, and I fix them because I have to do that in order to get the 11 digits for the destination barcode. That Intelligent Mail barcode has a full 11-digit zip code in it. So for me to get that, I do a second-level address correction, and if I find errors, I fix them, and I fix them smart. I actually use things like PeopleSmart and Spokio to look up people and addresses and see, oh, they just switched these 2 digits. So I send them a polite little email saying, you might want to update this in your contacts, but I fixed it for your card.
Wow.
The extra touch.
Talking about hands-on service.
Because I want to make sure they get the card, and most cards don't have a return address on it. You can put one on using the custom caption at the bottom of the card, but most people don't. And then, so after I've fixed the addresses, I've fixed any pictures that are too dark or too light that weren't intended to be that way, and then I create this giant printing PDF with all the cards for the day, and they're laid up 9 up for the giant Indigo press, and I FTP that to my printing partner, Progressive Solutions in Santa Clara, who I work with really closely. I've been working with them for 7 years, and they do a really beautiful job of printing these, laminating them, and then cutting them apart into separate cards that are full bleed. They're trimming off a 1/20th of an inch, and then they're delivered directly to the main sorting station in San Jose, and the USPS takes it from there. And then I track them from the barcodes. I can see what's happening to cards and try to debug the postal system. So it's not something you can just print them yourself.
No, definitely not.
You wouldn't get the quality, you wouldn't get the double-sided, you wouldn't get the lamination.
Right, and you really are going above and beyond to ensure that people get a quality card, get their card when they're supposed to, everything when it works.
And also, if you tried to print them yourselves, they wouldn't have a real postage stamp. and they wouldn't have a real barcode.
Right.
Those are added as in my part of making the PDF.
Sure.
I consume serial numbers. The nice thing about this postage is that each one has a unique serial number, so it doesn't need to be canceled, and the cards won't get mangled by canceling things.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. Alrighty.
That's PhotoCard.
That's PhotoCard.
I hope
That's a lot of great stuff.
Hope your users enjoy it and use it and send cards. The more cards we can get going, the sooner we can have an Android and web version. I know a lot of people would like to use this on their Macs or their Windows machine, and a lot of people would like to use it on their Android. And I just need to generate a little bit of money to pay for that.
Okay, well, hopefully we can help make that happen. Everybody watching this, go download PhotoCard right now, buy some credits, and send some pictures to people, because it's going to make them smile. That is for sure. For sure.
Yeah, the app is free, and it's small. Yeah. It used to be 161 megabytes, and I recently made it 31 megabytes.
Great.
And did that by demand loading the resources. So if you don't use any of my nature photos, you're not paying anything storage on your iOS device.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Everybody's running out of space, no matter how much you have. Awesome. Well, the next part of the show is actually meant to ask you for your favorite app, not being your own, but I think with this collage app, you may have well just told us that's a great app for people to have as a companion to this. That's going to allow them to put more than one picture onto their postcard. I think that's a great way to do it. Right on. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You have a couple of links here that I know you wanted to mention. I think I probably gave some of it away in the beginning with the triangulation, but where can people go to find out more about you yourself? Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want people to follow you on, and any other links out there that you want to plug.
I guess the best place would be to start with billatkinson.com. That's my website. I sell nature photos there, but I also have a section about PhotoCard.
Awesome. And the pictures that are behind you, these are all prints that are for sale?
Yeah.
These are beautiful.
These are beautiful canvas prints. They're a lot of work to make. I've invented new tools to be able to make them. Gripper bars allow me to stretch the whole canvas once, and even a spray bot that makes a really even protective coating on them that I couldn't do well enough just by hand. So
viewers to see that.
I'm an engineer, and I use engineering in the service of art and social change.
Wonderful. Well, viewers, you're going to have to watch the triangulation episodes to see exactly how these are made and to even know what those are photographs of. We're not going to tell you in this episode. You're going to have to go find that out yourself because it'll surprise you, and it is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work. It's really nice to have those back there. It's a nice backdrop. I like your backdrop better than mine. Maybe I should get a really big one of those, make that my backdrop. That could be cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks again. I really appreciate that. It's billatkinson.com. Are you on Twitter, on Facebook, anywhere else you want people to follow you?
On Twitter, I'm at BillATK. I'm on Facebook. I forget what my link is, but if you search for Bill Atkinson, you'll find it. And on Leo Laporte's TWiP TV, there are 3 different sections, 2 halves of an interview and actually a teaching video on using PhotoCard.
Okay, great. Well, I think that we got a lot of teaching on the PhotoCard here, but I really want people to check out those triangulation interviews because they're very, very good. Alrighty, fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. It's wonderful to have you on here again. And I know that our viewers will have appreciated not just the in-depth demo, but learning a bit more about you and understanding your history. It's an honor to have you on the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, I came to Apple when I was 27. I'm 65 and I'm still writing code, and I'm having a good time. I think the work I'm doing now is important, and it nourishes me to see the cards go by. When I see the little packets of love that people send, I think people are good.
Yeah,
it's an antidote to CNN.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of good news happening there, so very good. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it again. It's wonderful having you on. So that does bring us to the end of another episode of TWiP Apps. I'm your host, PhotoJoseph, and you can find me on the socials at PhotoJoseph, as well as on my website, photoapps.expert. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and to visit our website at thisweekinphoto.com, where you can sign up for our email list to be notified of new episodes and to get exclusive subscriber bonuses. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you're watching on our website, you can subscribe to the show using the subscribe box on this page. If you have feedback, suggestions, or comments about the show, you can reach me, PhotoJoseph, directly by using our contact form. Just click on the Contact Us menu at the top of our webpage. And finally, if you're a developer and would like to be a guest on the TWiP Apps show, click that same Contact Us button at thisweekinphoto.com and let us know what you've got. And with that, it's time to put your lens cap back on and go edit some photos.